I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi, bahashem, Ruach Kudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. This is the brother Shabai from GMS Denver. And through the Spirit, I'm going to go ahead and read the first chapter in James. Trying to get in the Spirit, trying to warm it up right before camp. Got camp in about an hour and a half. So you know how it is, man. We want to get in the Spirit right before we go to camp. So without further ado, let's read James 1 at the top. This is James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahawahshi HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greeting. You see how the chapters, they start out greeting the Israelites, greeting the brethren, okay? The 12 tribes. It says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." Okay? So the thing about this ministry and this truth, you do get in that spirit of wanting nothing, because we know that everything is vanity. Everything in this place on this side is vanity. The only thing, when you really get the experience and you're really in the spirit of Yahawah bahashem Yahshai, you start to realize that the only thing that really does matter is this truth. Okay? It's above everything. All right? The priority. The only thing that will bring us salvation is, having sincerity and being, steadfast in this truth. Okay? Let me see. Let me get this precept. Let's go to Psalm 34 and 10. It says, "The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek Yahawah shall not want any good thing." You see that? So when you're really, that's how you know when you're really, really a part of this thing. When you're really sincere, when you're really, the spirit of Yahawah bahashem Yahshai is on you, because you don't want anything, but you pray for that spirit to stay on you. And you recognize and you realize, hey, this is what it's all about. It's all about doing the work of Yahawah bahashem Yahshai. Everything else is secondary, Let's read verse 5. It says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." So if you lack wisdom, pray to Yahawah bahashem Yahshai. Pray. Throw up them prayers, and that your wisdom increases, okay? And if it's a sincere prayer, the Most High is going to grant you that, okay? "But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of Yahawah." See? So if you don't really truly believe, if your prayer is not sincere, if you ask for wisdom, but yet you turn around and you just totally, do the complete opposite of your way out the spirit. You're not doing your videos. You're not putting this thing first. It says, "Let that man not receive anything of Yahawah bahashem Yahshai. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted." Right? So even brothers of low degree, meaning you might not be the head of the camp, or you're not You're not the top person in GMS, right? But the Most High can exalt you at any moment in the spirit. But the rich, in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he shall pass away. And so the only thing that matters is this truth. The Most High wanted he could take you out. Not just take you out the truth, but he can unalive you. You know? And we see men who, come against the elders, men who fall out, and you end up hearing about them, oh shit, the Lord took them out. Right? For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. And that's Esau Edom. He's got the power right now. He's got the finances. We know he's going to be eradicated from the planet Earth, after 1,000 years in the kingdom of hardcore slavery. Verse 12, blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which Yahawah bahashem Yahawahshi hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of the Most High, for the Most High cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So if you out of the spirit, if you're not walking if you're not walking in the spirit, even the Lord's servants, the prophets, could be vulnerable. That's why it's good to balance it out. You should be in the spirit, with good balance to this thing of ours. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And when sin is finished, it bringeth forth death. You see that? You might think you're getting away with sin, but hey, you don't know. The Most High, he's got his angels observing everything, right? What's that? Proverbs 15:3. The eyes of Yahawah are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. See that? So nothing slips past Yahawah bahashem Yahawahshi. James 1. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. Salakia, I'm already on verse. Jumping back down to verse 16. Do not err, my beloved brethren, for every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that he should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Yep, so this is the will of the Most High to give us this knowledge, to give us this truth. And the first fruits dealing with those men who were, before the foundations of the earth, the spirits that were before the foundation of the earth. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. So it's good to just listen sometimes, I remember Elder Ariah, he came to Denver, and I remember one time he was just telling us, just listen. Sometimes you just gotta listen, Be swift to hear and slow to speak, you see? That'll keep you out of a lot of trouble, A slip of the tongue is worse than a slip on the pavement, right? Especially when it comes to this ministry. You don't want to be slipping up, going off in the doctrine. So it's always good to remember that, to be slow to speak. For the wrath of man worketh not in righteousness of the Most High. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity, of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. You see that? This ministry, this truth, being sincere, being dedicated, this is what's going to save our souls, if we are those men of the elect. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own self. You deceive yourself. If you hear the word and you don't really put it into your own life, your own daily, your daily routines, And what's our routine? Doing lessons every day, reading, studying. Salakia, I'm going to turn this ringer off. Salakia. All right. Let me see here. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. Right? So you don't have no integrity. Right? You hear the word, you walk away, and you forget about everything you just learned or everything you just heard. And a lot of people do that. You got a lot of men who come to the camp and they're all, drawn to the spirit. They're all about it, fist pumping, cheering, they're cheerleaders on the sideline. But, as soon as they leave the camp, they don't even think about the truth. Right? I can't tell you how many times we've been out there teaching, and we have Jake come up to us like, yeah, man, y'all gonna be here next week? We tell him, yep, we'll be here every week. We tell him what time. All right, man, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna see you guys. And I can't tell you how many times they've told us that, and you never see them again. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. Right? So doing the work is gonna bring blessings. Being sincere. Being about it. Right? Like what's his name? Master P. Be about it. You got to be about it. About it. Right? Not just a lip service. Put it into action, you see. If any man among you seem to be religious and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. So sometimes you got to know how to just bridle with your own tongue, right? Meaning be slow to speak and quick to hear. Right? Oh shit, hold up. Let's see. Bridle your tongue, it means to control your speech, restraining yourself from speaking rashly, angrily, or deceitfully. You see? So knowing how to, knowing when to speak, knowing when not to speak, that's what bridling your tongue is. Discipline, control, responsibility, recognizing words have power and consequences and can reflect on your character or faith, you see? So if you're out here just speaking with a loose tongue, you're out here losing your mind, especially at the camp, because we're supposed to be an example. But if you're out here just being reckless, you're not going to, you're not going to edify somebody. You're not going to edify the elect. You're going to look like a fool, if you don't know how to bridle your tongue, if you don't know how to control yourself, discipline yourself. You see? Pure religion and undefiled before the Most High and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Okay? So we are to, we don't want to be, because like I say, we're an ensign, the Bible says. We're like the banner being set up. Well, the truth is the banner, but we're the ensign. We're the example. You want to be unspotted to the world, because if you're out there being a nigga, or being a fucking tomahawk, or being a fucking straight up menace, no matter what tribe you represent, you're gonna at the end of the day, you're representing Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi. Remember Yahawahshi said, "This is my Father's business." So we're representing the business of Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi, and we go out here acting like a straight up fool, a straight up demon. You're not holding up that standard for the ministry, right? Let me see. Let me see. There's two precepts I'm going to grab here. Let's see. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 6:3. It says, I'll start at 1. It says, 2 Corinthians 6:1, "We then, as workers together with him, beseech you also that ye receive not the grace of the Most High in vain," meaning in uselessness. "For he saith, I have heard thee in a time accepted, and in the day of salvation have I succored thee. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." So now is the day that we're trying to, make ourselves known unto salvation. We're trying to do the work. We're trying to be a reflection of Yahawahshi, right? So you gotta, walk in the spirit of Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi. It says, verse 3, "Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed," right? Okay. Let's see. "But in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of the Most High, in much patience, in afflictions, in necessities, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonments, in tumults, in labors, in watchings, in fastings, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth, by the power of the Most High, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left." See? And we can read this whole chapter, but you get the point. The main point right here, verse 3, "Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed." You see? So you got these groups out here, and they're giving the ministry a bad name. And it's because they're not walking in the truth. They're not walking in the spirit of Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi. They're changing up the doctrine. They're teaching lies, teaching unsound doctrine, so on and so forth. Okay, let me grab this precept also in Philippians 2:15. It says, "That ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of the Most High, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world." Okay, so we're supposed to shine as lights in the world. We have the light. The light, it represents this wisdom. So you have to be a reflection of that light. You can't be walking around, remember, we're set up as an ensign. Let me get that. Isaiah 11 and 12, it says, and he shall set up an ensign, and that's actually talking about Yahawahshi. But we are, we're the men who are, pushing that vibration of Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi. It says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Okay? And the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Talking about the northern and southern kingdom. Right? We're as prophets, we're out there as an ensign. Let me get that definition of ensign for you real quick. It says a flag or standard, all right? Especially a military or naval one, indicating nationality, and that's what we are, an ensign. We were telling the tribes who they are. We're setting the standard as the men of Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi, right? So with this this ministry, this work we do, it comes a responsibility, okay? And it's something, you like right now, you learn that, hey, there's a heavy responsibility being one of the men of the Lord, being a sincere servant of Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi, okay? So remember, that word ensign, it means a standard. So we are the standard. So remember that when we're out there teaching, when we're out there in our daily lives, you want to go around talking about you an Israelite, you a prophet, this and that. But if you're not setting up that standard, and you're making an occasion for the ministry to have a blame on it, right? Doing some foolishness, making a bad name, you're really dishonoring Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi. So it's always best to, walk in the Spirit to the best of your ability. And, the sincere men of Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi are going to hold up that standard. So with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahawah, bahashem, Yahawahshi, bahashem, Rakah, Kudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect. Shalom.